Hello and welcome back to the Sim Racing channel where nothing is impossible. It's Florian for Sim Racing with Handicap 502, and today we are testing the Alpha Merlin Valor GT3 Evo 2024, which basically is the Aston Martin Vantage GT3 Evo from United Racing Design. They say it's their most advanced car to date, and we will try to find out how good it really is. I've chosen two tracks. The first one is the Hockenheimring, which in my opinion is a track that usually suits mid or rear engined cars the most, and the second one is Barcelona, which suits front engined cars very well. But first let's have a look at some of the most interesting setup options. It's nothing really special nowadays, but I still want to mention that the car has a 2-stage traction control and adjustable ABS. A really great thing which isn't as common is that we can not only choose between different engine maps but also pedal maps, which can improve the drivability a lot without cutting maximum power, but changing the throttle response, which is especially useful for rear-engined cars which struggle with grip on the exit of slower corners. Then, as you can see, we probably have the most in-depth damper settings I've ever seen in a GT3 car. I personally won't touch them, and fortunately it's not needed, as the usual suspension and advanced suspension settings along with the alignment will be enough for most people to make the car handle as you like, but it's still nice to have the damper settings for setup experts. Now let's jump into the car for the first lap. This was the lap at the Hockenheimring. I think the lap time is very good, especially for a front-engined car. For comparison, my fastest lap in race room with a GT3 car is only a few tenths faster, and the fastest times in real life are around 2 seconds faster, which is approximately how close I get to real times on most tracks. But how is the feeling in the car? The car definitely feels like a front-engined car. It lacks grip on acceleration out of slow corners compared to mid or rear-engined cars, as it should be, and it rotates nicely in faster corners if you put the foot down aggressively, where mid or rear-engined cars might be a bit understeery. But what I really liked was that I could make the car rotate nicely on corner entry with some setup changes. That's something rear-engined cars often struggle with. What I also liked a lot was the predictability of the car's handling, which made it easy to be consistent. I could do lap times around 1:39.8 consistently with no problem. What I want you to pay attention to now and then on the lap at Barcelona from the tweak cam is how the car moves over bumps and in the braking zones, because I think it looks super realistic. You get the impression the car really drives on the track, while in other sims it sometimes looks like they float over the track. Only in Race Room I think the movement of the GT3 cars looks more realistic. Now let's listen to the sound before we move on to Barcelona, and there I will talk about how detailed the car is and how good TC and ABS work after the onboard lap. First of all, what do you think about the sound? I think both from the inside and outside it sounds great and very close to real life. The lap time was a 1:44.4, which is around 5 seconds slower than the fastest times in real life. At first this seems slow, but I used an old version of Barcelona before the change of turn 10, which might be a bit slower. Also, I'm sure although my setup isn't bad, there's still room to improve it. So I'm sure the best drivers could get a lap time close to the real times. Now to the TC and ABS. The traction control works really nice, you can adjust it exactly to your liking. On lower levels the TC still allows for the rear to slip to a certain degree, which is how it should be. However, while the ABS activation is noticeable, it could be a bit more pronounced. It's also worth noting that it rewards driving that minimizes ABS intervention. My only real criticism of this car is the limited feedback regarding understeer, which sometimes leads to releasing the brakes too early because I misjudge front end grip, causing me to go wide. Now the level of detail. The car looks exactly as the real one. The digital speedo looks exactly as in real life, with even the oil and water temperature going up and down. The LEDs on the dash generally also work correctly, but as you could see, the ones left and right of the speedo were blinking constantly. I don't know if that's a bug, but that's not a big deal. On the outside, even the screen which alternating shows the position and name of the driver works, which is awesome. Overall, I can just recommend that car as it's awesome and seems to be a nearly perfect virtual version of the real car. Let me know your thoughts on the car if you already have it, and if not, if you think of getting it. The setups I used are in the description below.